All right, fans, welcome back to another edition of the Boston Boys Sports Podcast. I am, of course, one third of the Boston Boys. I am your king of cover. I'm Eli Horrigan, and I'm here with the crystal ball, the beard, right? If you watched our last podcast, the beard told you the Celtics were going to smash the Knicks, predicted Tatum's 30, predicted Jaylen Brown in the 20s. I think he said 28. He only had 23, but they took everyone out, so he probably would have hit it. Beard, how you doing, man? You got to be on top of the world.
Oh, man, it feels great to watch some good Boston sports here, bud.
Oh, my God. Yeah, absolutely, man. Of course, we're missing.
I even took out the year logo Mitchell and Ness.
Oh, beautiful. I also have my Mitchell and Ness, but it is hard for Whalers edition. Mitchell and Ness, like we said, reach out to us. We will gladly have your gear on all the time, man. We love it. And of course, like I was saying, we are missing our third member, Steve Fernandez. Stevie will be back with us sooner than later. So what's up, Stevie? Thanks for watching, and I can't wait to have you back. And also, like we mentioned, we are partnered with Jones and for Sports. We make sports better. Check them out on X. Check them out on Instagram. Check them out on YouTube. They're putting quality content out every single day. Get at them. We, of course, are going to go to our three studs, our three duds, NFL power rankings, a little bit about the NFL, but a big topic of conversation tonight is going to be that unbelievable opening night, rings, banner ceremony, and, of course, the Knicks getting smashed. Sorry, Jones. Why don't we jump right into our studs portion of the show? Kiefer, who's your number one
Saquon Barkley. So I'm going to say I took King Henry off my stuff because I've had him on almost, we'll say 5 out of the 7 weeks that he's been here, and I just need to change it up a bit. He's still my number one in my mind, but I'm going Saquon Barkley. 17 attempts, 176 yards, a touchdown, only 2 receptions, but he was in complete control. And that sideline thing, you want to go out and set your single sit game record for rushing? Nah, man, let the young bucks play. Let the boys get their blood and their touches. That was a class act move right there.
Yeah, it was a class act all the way, and I'll just pile on because my number one was Saquon Barkley too. 176. Yeah, I mean, he was so good. He was that offense. I don't know what's going on in Philadelphia. Ever since last year, Devontae Smith started hot last year, and then A.J. Brown rightfully is a stud and got paid there. He had his meltdown. He wants the touches. Devontae Smith is virtually useless in that offense. Saquon Barkley is not. He was my stud. And I loved that video too. Stevie sent it in the group text, and let the young dogs eat. He didn't care about that personal best. Team guy. They're going to have to ride him because he's the best thing about that team right now.
Completely agreed.
All right. Let's turn into who's your number 2 stud.
Lamar Jackson. 17 and 22, 281, 5 touchdowns, 52 rushing yards. I mean, I think they said that his 5th game with a certain completion percentage and 5 touchdowns. The list was all basically going to be Hall of Famers or Hall of Famers. Yeah. So he was just lights out. That game was awesome. I mean, hands down, one of the best games of the weekend.
I couldn't agree more. And I was having a conversation with my buddy Sean at work today, and we were just talking about it. I said, in my opinion, I think the Ravens are the most complete team in the NFL right now. And as good as the Chiefs have been, they haven't been great, but they still win every week. But the Chiefs will get to our power rankings, but I feel like right now, as they're moving forward, the Ravens just feel super complete. That running game's fantastic. Lamar Jackson's been absolutely great. Now we'll wait and see playoff Lamar because that's been a problem, but that team is so good right now.
Yeah, I think playoff Lamar might not be such of a problem this year because they have Derrick Henry running the way he is.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you have Derrick Henry, as long as he's healthy and you have that guy to hand the ball off of, I think that makes a huge difference rather than J.K. Dobbins, who was hurt, and Gus Edwards for that team who was hurt. So great pick.
I completely agree.
Yeah, a big Lamar fan, so that was a great pick. My number two, no surprise, you had them in your power rankings last week. Lions at Vikings makes my stud list, both teams, because that was one hell of a game. Everything the NFC North is cracked up to be was in that game. Both teams now 5-1. Game had all the drama you needed in the fourth quarter. You know, the Vikings kick a field goal to get within 8 points. Then the Vikings defense forces a punt. They march down the field. They kick another field goal, go down by 5. After that, they recover for a fumble for a touchdown. They have all the momentum, it seems. And then the Lions, Jared Goff pulls a rabbit out of the hat. He marches that team down the field. They end up getting a field goal and winning. They end up winning the game 31-29, but that game was so good. It was like must-watch TV. That NFC North is a phenomenal division. That game encompassed everything, and that's why I have that game as a stud.
No, you could safely say they have probably 3 top 10 teams in the NFL in power rankings between the Packers, Minnesota, and them, and that's in one division. That's absolutely insane.
You could argue for Chicago too. Chicago's beaten bad teams, but listen, I always say it: you can only beat who's in front of you. And Chicago, if you told me Chicago was your 10th team in the power rankings, I don't know that I'd argue with you.
I don't think I would either.
That's the best division in football, right there.
Don't disagree. That division is absolutely insane right now.
All right, well, let's keep it moving. Right down the list. Number 3. Who was your number 3?
So I'm going to go with something a little different here because I believe the Chiefs defense is what won that game for them this week. So I'm going Kansas City's defense.
Yeah,
One
okay,
sack, 3 picks, 1 forced fumble. They made them look. They made San Fran look bad, and the injury plague is coming for San Fran, and all the people getting hurt. And Deebo Samuel was out with an illness. So, but I'm going to go Chiefs defense.
Yeah, Chiefs defense. Absolutely. San Francisco. There was somebody, I forget who was saying that San Francisco was not a top 5 team in the power rankings this year. I can't remember who said that. But they are not looking good this year. We'll have to go back to the tape and see which one of us said it.
Go back to the tape. I give you all the praise for that. You called it, sir. You called it.
And I wish I wasn't right because I don't want to see injuries, but I couldn't see Christian McCaffrey being healthy. I didn't know they were we don't have inside knowledge. I didn't know he was hurt. They weren't disclosing it, but now Ayuk's down, Debo's down. Like Brock Purdy, without all his weapons, you're kind of seeing that he's just another quarterback in this league, as far as I'm concerned. So, but yeah, Kansas City's defense, they did what they had to do, and Kansas City just keeps winning.
And I know we have them. We'll talk about that in the power rankings, but I don't think that they're the best team in the NFL, even though they're winning. They're 6. In my eyes, I don't believe they are.
I agree with you, and we'll talk about it in our power rankings because we've both said it here. They'll be number 1 until someone knocks them off, and then I'll gladly take them off my list. But I can't take the back-to-back Super Bowl champions who haven't lost down a peg until they lose, but I don't think they're the best team. They look really lazy right now. They look really like even those great Patriots teams we talk about all the time where they're like, yeah, they sleptwalked to a 12-win season. They turned it on. They don't even look as good as those teams did. Like Pat Mahomes having 6 interceptions. I think he's 7 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, if memory serves correct. That's very un-Mahomes-like.
8 interceptions now.
Oh, 8 interceptions. So I'm even underselling it. So it's like
6 and 8.
6 and 8. So it really feels not like Pat Mahomes. Kelsey, I think, is pretty washed at this point, and maybe he'll turn it on. He did in the playoffs. Xavier Worthy's just not ready to be a true number 1. Rashee Rice being hurt. I mean, it's a mess there. But again, in good conscience, I can't take them out of that spot until they lose.
Agreed.
So for my number 3 stud, I really went outside the box in this because I wanted to go Henry. I love Lamar Jackson. There was so many guys you can go after, but I really went outside the box because I wanted to give this guy his flowers, and I did Marcus Mariota.
I was thinking the same thing earlier, but I didn't want to do it, so I'm glad you did.
I did it because 205 yards, 18 of 23, 2 touchdowns. This guy typically has not been a good passer in the league. If you watch the NFL quarterback show on Netflix, he was part of that. He walks away from the Falcons to get a knee surgery without telling them. He's kind of been marred by he had all this praise coming out of Oregon, and it just felt like his career never got to where it needed to be, even though kind of liked him as a quarterback. I really did like him at at Oregon. I know this was Carolina, but when you're holding a clipboard and the number one guy goes down, who's the number 2 overall draft pick, it would have been a perfect excuse for the Commanders to turn into the Commanders. And they really just didn't. Marcus Mariota was good. He didn't make mistakes. And this, since 2000, they've had 20 seasons that they're 500 or below. Okay, so this is one of an all-time great losing franchises. Daniel's going down. I could have seen that going the other way, and I thought Marcus Mariota was the consummate pro in that and a perfect backup in that situation. So I just wanted to give him his flowers. Really great game by Mariota.
I love that pick, buddy. I seriously, what I know they played Carolina, like you said, but I thought he played really well.
I mean, 6 out of the 8 drives that Mariota led, the Commanders scored points. And one of those drives that they didn't score points, those were kneel downs. So really, it was more like 6 out of 7 drives they scored points. So I wanted to give him his props because I thought Marcus Mariota was really good.
Yeah, I think Washington's for real too.
I do too. I actually could see them winning the NFC East.
Don't disagree.
But the Cowboys, remember last week we said they weren't going to make the playoffs. Boy, with everything happening, Tampa, Godwin going down, Evans now, hurt for a couple weeks. San Francisco dealing with injuries. It's like Dallas might sneak in at this point.
Don't think Evans is out for a couple weeks because I heard a report today. I think it was Bleacher Report, ESPN, one of them, or maybe one of those sites that Evans might be out till week 11.
Oh. That's a blow to that team. And let's, like we always say, if you're watching this, make sure you like, subscribe, comment below on who we got right, who we got wrong in the studs. We're coming up with our duds now. So, Kiefer, why don't you jump right in? Give me your first dud.
San Francisco 49ers.
Boom. Done. I agree.
Injuries are killing this team. They truly are. I don't want to say Brock Purdy isn't a good quarterback yet because he's throwing to people that he's not normally throwing to. Kittle is actually waking up a little bit, but without a good running game, Mason hasn't looked good in a couple weeks. Just the team itself doesn't look right, and I'm throwing San Fran as a whole out there.
Yeah, you're 100% not wrong. Brock Purdy, 3 interceptions, really not good. I've not been a Brock Purdy guy. The story's nice. He's Mr. Irrelevant. I always thought that he was put into a really good position when he's not got this talent around him. I just think that you're seeing the game's not as easy when you don't have premier players at all those spots. I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but I do think I think I had this stat earlier in the year when Brock Purdy throws more than 1 interception or when he's responsible for more than 1 turnover, San Francisco doesn't win. They're 0-for. So if they're going to actually compete and try to, get past all these injuries and make a run, because right now Seattle could have complete control of that division with all these injuries because Ayuk's done for the year now. Brock Purdy's going to have to be a guy who doesn't make mistakes and he finds guys to throw to.
Agreed.
All right, I'm going to go in reverse order because I'm going to have a tangent on my number 1. So number 3 is CJ Stroud for me. This is a kid who we all love. He's the first non-bust Ohio State quarterback, 10 for 21, 86 yards. In a game of that magnitude, he looked extraordinarily below average. The Texans held the ball longer than the Packers. Time of possession, they actually held the ball longer. They had a perfectly established run game because Mixon went off for 123 yards on 28 carries. And they only had 6 passing first downs. This loss right here, to me, falls on C.J. Stroud.
Agreed, and I'll jump right into 2 because my 2 is C.J. Stroud.
Oh.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I can't disagree more. I can't believe he laid a duck like that bad against the Packers. They were still in the game. They only lost by 2, but it's still that you can't have that from a star quarterback and expect to win a Super Bowl.
No, you can't. And we were real high on this team. And I remember I did say this too, because I want to point this out. I want to keep on this for 1 second. In a game where Jordan Love also threw a couple interceptions, like, you have to be better than that. The Packers gave the ball away to you and you didn't capitalize. But remember what I said last week about the Texans and the Patriots, and Stevie's big thing was, well, the Texans are playing soft defense against the Patriots. So Drake May's getting these opportunities. And I said in the podcast, the Houston Texans are not a team that can play soft. They've never done anything to win. They've never won anything. So if you're a team who takes weeks off because, like, it's a bad competition game, well, that's what happened, I think, in this game. I think you went into New England, you played soft and still beat up a really bad team. But when you take lazy habits into a game against a good team, this is what happens. You turn around and you lose to the Packers in a game that you could have won.
I completely agree with you.
So I mean, that's where I landed on that. So that was your 2. Anything else on CJ Stroud for you?
No, you covered it, buddy.
Okay, so my number 2 is Baker Mayfield, and the 2 interceptions, because he had a ton of yards. Those 2 interceptions led to 10 points. Buccaneers lose by 10 points. So to me, the 1 interception in the end zone, real killer, unforgivable. Okay, you got down to the 3-yard line with a chance to make it 17-7. Instead, you throw an interception in the back of the end zone. Baltimore marches down the field effortlessly, might I add, 80 yards in a minute 47. And they make the game 14-10. Baltimore never looked back after that. The lead grew to 34-10 before Tampa Bay showed any signs of life. Past that, Chris Godwin's out for the season now. Evans is gone for a while. If the Buccaneers are going to be better than the Falcons, which I really think they can be because I'm unimpressed with the Falcons, Baker Mayfield's actually going to have to be elite.
That's 5 interceptions in 2 weeks for Baker Mayfield.
Got to be better than that. And that's why he lands on my dud list, because I'm a Baker guy. I like Baker. I've not been shy about telling anybody Tampa's my second city. I have all kinds of family down there. And I love, shout out to Angelo. I was talking to him all last night during the game. He might want to join the podcast some point. Big Celts fan. So shout out to Ange. But also, yeah, my family's down there. Love them. Baker Mayfield, please be elite, because I do think Tampa can still be better than Atlanta.
Definitely agree with that. Baker Mayfield is a pure gunslinger. He throws for a ton of yards. He's carrying them, and it's going to be scary to see without 2-star wide receivers on your team. And no bullshit though, Otten impressed me. The tight end.
Yeah, Cade Otton.
He took some hits.
Tough kid.
Man, took some hits. I thought one of them he got knocked out and he got right back up again. So I was like, all right, well, that's good to see, but we'll see what happens with Tampa.
Yeah. I mean, that Cade Otton's a tough kid, and you know what? Maybe Cade Otton becomes, if you have him in fantasy football league, I mean, pump the start button on that kid right now, because he's probably the only target right now.
Agreed.
And who is your final dud?
I know. So I picked the Chiefs as my Chiefs defense is a stud. I picked Pat Mahomes for my 3rd player.
That's fair.
167 yards, 2 picks. He's not Pat Mahomes. And I don't care what anybody says. You're going to be considered the next greatest quarterback ever. Well, Tom Brady never did this in a season. Ever. Never seen Tom Brady play like this through any of his 24 seasons or 23 seasons, whatever he played. I don't want to hear that bullshit from Chiefs fans no more. I'm sorry. This season is now the downfall. Let's see. Yes, they're winning games. Yes, they might go. Kind of reminds me of that Broncos team when Peyton Manning was playing awful.
Oh, yeah. Terrible.
Osweiler
took over. Yeah, Osweiler ended up taking over. No, I agree with you. They're very un-Chiefs-like, and I know they're winning, and we'll get into our power rankings. But, yeah, that offense is pedestrian at best. I think I've used that word one too many times on this podcast, but that's what I see them as. They're not doing anything special. They look lazy. They look sloppy. And I know they beat Baltimore early in the season, but I think if you match those guys up now, I think it's a different ballgame, because Baltimore is now hitting their stride. And remember, Baltimore is Zay Flowers' toe away from tying that game up.
Yeah, no, completely. Yep. That's not
I think
even.
was it Likely or Zay Flowers?
No, that was likely.
Likely.
Likely
Okay.
missed the toe in the end zone.
Yeah, right at the end of the game. So I mean, we're right there if that's going to be it. So really good pick on Pat Mahomes, and my number one dud, which I went in reverse order 3-2, and my number one dud. We have made a permanent spot for the Patriots as our duds. My number one is Gerard Mayo. He just needs to be fired, and not at the end of the season. It should have been Monday. He's clueless. He looks like football is a foreign game to him. I think Stevie put it in our text message chain when we were talking about how good that first drive looked, and he immediately said first drive is scripted, and he's not wrong. You script that, you work that out all week, and it looked good. He looks clueless. He looks like he doesn't know how to read the flow of a game. Alex Van Pelt's no different. It doesn't look like when they show Mayo on the sideline, it doesn't look like he's coaching anyone up or talking to anyone. And then at the end of the game, to go out in a press conference and call your team, say they're not tough. It's the coach's job to toughen them up. They're getting penalties on PATs, okay? This falls on the coach. You've lost your locker room. He is so bad at being a head coach in this league. I just can't say it enough. We have them as duds no matter what because they're awful. In my 40 years on this planet, I don't think I've seen a worse head coach. He's got no idea what he's doing. If Robert Kraft doesn't do a complete overhaul of this organization, starting with his GM, following with every coach on that staff, okay? And that's just not just Gerard Mayo. That goes for Covington and Van Pelt. You're going to lose this team. And why I say this, okay, because John Henry, he's going to start getting that treatment. Kraft is. Henry and company ended an 86-year drought, okay? They won 4 World Series since this last World Series, okay? The Red Sox have missed the playoffs in 5 of 6 years. Since the Patriots' last Super Bowl, they've missed the playoffs in 4 of 6 years. And that's soon to be 5 out of 7 years. Fire everybody, especially Gerard Mayo. He's clueless. He doesn't have a fucking clue. He needs to be gone, and this team needs to be completely overhauled.
So I heard my boss is a WEI all day at work.
Yeah.
And they said that statistically, just through 7 games, if Mayo was to get fired, he would be considered the worst NFL head coach that there was.
He is. I mean, and I'm not even going to compare him to the Brady era. I'm not going to compare him because I know Steve put out on Twitter today that Belichick's team last year wasn't good either. I'm not even arguing any of that. I'm arguing what I'm watching this year. This is awful. This is so bad. This is bad football. To have a fucking PAT penalty, a false start on an extra point is unforgivable. That is team discipline right there. This team is terrible. They missed on everything. And Elliot Wolf is a shitty GM too. I'm so fucking mad at this team, at how bad they are. It's awful. Watching that team every week is miserable. And I sit there and I watch and I stew. It's misery to watch them.
Yeah, I said that to you last week. I said on the last podcast, it upsets me to watch the Patriots like this. I think they do need to fire Wolf. I think they, and I know I wasn't a fan of this. I don't think Drake May was the wrong pick at this point because he has played better than the team has since starter.
I don't at this point. I like Drake May. I'd never disliked Drake May, the kid. He's 21. He had upside. I thought it was from a fundamental standpoint on building a team, I thought it was the wrong pick. I don't mind him at this point. If you put an offensive line around him and you can get some weapons, I think that he could have success. He's athletic enough. You've seen that he can make throws. He's only 21 and he will grow. But I have a beef with just about everybody in the front office. I could do a better job as a GM, and I barely graduated high school. Like, I am not the smartest guy in the room. I never claimed to be. But it's almost like Robert Kraft has lost his mind. He hires people he likes. It's all former retreads. Like we brought in Jacoby Brissett and gave him $8 million because we drafted him 10 years ago and they liked him. And Gerard Mayo gets to be a coach. He's not even ready to be a coach, but Robert Kraft likes him and promised it to him a while ago. Alex Van Pelt was like the 8th guy they interviewed because nobody wanted this job. It's a joke. Robert Kraft, he thought he wants the Hall of Fame so bad, and he thought he was a big percentage of winning. You are the checkbook for this team. That's what you are. You're not a football mind. Okay, you're not a GM. You don't evaluate talent, and you're hiring people you like, and it's not a good way to run a football team. He is not doing this team a service because we like Gerard Mayo and we're going to make him a coach. You were a fucking middle linebacker in the NFL. You're one of the toughest positions and toughest guys on the team. Okay, you're responsible for making this team tough. So to call them out and say they're not tough, you didn't do your job.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the right captains either. I don't think that his captains, and I'll use this. We'll go about this later, but your captains are supposed to be the guys that talk in the room for you. You hype up them, you hype up the team. The captains take control. That's your other voices. Who's your captains? Jacoby Brissett.
Yep.
Bro Peppers, who got stripped after what happened to him, and they Kyle Duggar, who's playing like shit. You're giving it to guys that aren't the right people. Andrews is hurt. He's one of their captains. It's not a good locker room right now. And I don't disagree with Mayo getting fired. I don't disagree with this in that I am now at the point where they need to find a real GM. They need to work on the offensive line, and they need to spend fucking money.
I saw something like they're going to have 124 million to spend next year. And let me tell you something. If they don't spend, people should not go to games. I actively don't waste your money on this team. If they're not going to invest in this team, don't invest your hard-earned dollars to go sit there and watch them play when they trot out bums. They need to spend. It's pathetic to me that after week 7, we're talking about next off season. Like that shouldn't be a thing in this region. We're too big of a sports community in Boston.
No, agreed. And I think about the Jets. They're playing the Jets this weekend, and they need to beat the Jets. The Jets are just as playing bad, just as bad right now.
But
Drake needs to have a good.
But this is what we did last week when we talked about it. We said, "Oh, Jacksonville's bad. They have a chance to beat Jacksonville." We have to stop. Like the Jets are bad. The Patriots, if the Jets are bad, the Patriots are so much worse because the Titans are awful. The Jaguars are awful. Like legitimately, right? We were saying Jacksonville isn't good. We have a chance to win. Dude, I heard multiple calls. It was driving me insane. I'm listening to Sports Talk Radio. I heard multiple calls on like EEI where people were like, well, let's not forget the Jaguars actually have good talent. They're better than their record suggests. When all I heard last week was how bad they were and that the Patriots with Drake May could win. Okay, we're making excuses now. After they get their heads kicked in by the fucking Jaguars, now people are like, oh, well, don't forget they have Christian Kirk and Trevor Lawrence was a first-round pick. It's like, it's maddening to listen to the fan base too make excuses.
They play like shit all year, and then they beat us. Regardless of what it is, Jacksonville is not a good football team, but they still beat us. They still manhandled us. They ran all over our defense, and you can say that injuries are hurting the defense, yeah. But as a defensive-minded head coach. And is he calling the defensive plays or they have a coordinator calling it? Because they need to take away the responsibility from somebody because God, that's awful. They got ran over.
Listen, the Jaguars average 18 points per game. We as the Patriot fans, we watched them give up 32 points. The Jaguars averaged 319 yards per game. We gave up 364. So everybody who plays us does better. The defense is terrible. The coverage was awful. It's just they have no clue how to even make in-game adjustments. You basically put a bunch of guys who coach. Mayo's never been, he was a linebackers coach. He wasn't even the defensive coordinator because Belichick doesn't name coordinators, right? So he was basically a linebackers coach. Alex Van Pelt had not called an offense since the 2000s. I think it was 2006 was what we picked. DeMarcus Covington, he's never been a defensive coordinator. We have a bunch of guys on this. I don't think Covington has. In any event, it's all retreads. It's all guys that Kraft just likes. And he opened up. I wish Kraft liked me and said, listen, I want to pay him $1 million because I could be terrible at whatever I'm doing and he'd pay me. It's unforgivable at this point.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I'm at the point where I would have rather had McDaniels back as a head coach than Mayo.
And that's saying something because McDaniels sucks too.
And that's what I'm saying, though. That they have to have him, at least to have an offensive product at that point.
I don't know what they're going to do. And I don't even have faith that Kraft's going to make the right decisions. And, I'll leave it at that. That's my tangent on the Patriots. And after that, we can do Patriots talk. I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about the Patriots, but we can jump right into our power rankings from here. Guys, definitely like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, comment on what we got right, what we got wrong, who you believe duds are. And definitely let us know. We'll talk about anything we see.
I do have one more. Jalen Pultney's not catching the damn ball.
Yeah, he's another big problem. And he's a guy I liked. Stop running your yapper and telling me how good you are and just start catching the ball.
Exactly. That's right. You just said it perfectly. Stop saying you have hands and prove to me you have hands. Put some stickum on him or something, bro.
Yeah, there was two really distinct things I can remember in my mind where he had very catchable balls. In the second one, as he's catching the ball, he gets hit and drops it. And if you're going to be a good receiver, you need to learn how to catch the ball and take a hit at the same time. All right, so let's jump right into our power rankings. Week 7, right? Who is your number 1 team?
Unfortunately, it's the Chiefs.
It is the Chiefs for me as well.
2.
Number 2.
Lions.
I got the Baltimore Ravens.
So I have a little star X next to both of them. The way that they're playing, because I have Baltimore at 3. But the way that those two are playing, the way that they are, I would love to see them both in the Super Bowl together.
That would be fantastic. So you have 2 Detroit, 3 Baltimore?
Yep.
Okay, I have 2 Baltimore, 3 Detroit. So we're right. And honestly, I just can't drop the Chiefs, but I do think the Ravens and Lions are both playing better football than the Chiefs.
I think they are. I could have had Baltimore and Lions reverse 1-2 and the Chiefs down at 3. But again, they haven't lost, so I can't say that. But the way that you said the Lions defense beats up people, the way I saw Baltimore beat up that offense in Tampa Bay this week, they were hitting hard. Derrick Henry, if you haven't seen any big run, have you seen the pictures of him? Run, he just has this giant smile while he's mid-run. Oh, I'm going now. I got this. Those 2 teams would be a fantastic Super Bowl to watch.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. They are. It's absolutely correct. Both teams are fantastic. I've been a big believer in the Lions. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. But Baltimore, I think this is the year Baltimore gets over the hump. I really do. I think the addition of Derrick Henry was potentially the best addition to any team.
Yeah, I had Baltimore. I think I had Baltimore playing San Fran in the Super Bowl in our early power rankings at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And I picked San Fran to win, which I'm retarded now because after watching what Baltimore's doing and after all the hype I talked about, Derrick Henry before the season. Derrick Henry, I just saw a thing pop up on ESPN. Lamar Jackson has came out. He thinks Derrick Henry can break the all-time rushing record this season right now.
I think if he's healthy, I 100% believe that. That guy is a wrecking ball. That team is so good. I mean, I stupidly picked Cincinnati. I mean, we did it way too early. That was our way too early thing. And again, who could have saw the injuries in San Francisco either? I mean, I know I said McCaffrey. I didn't think he was hurt, so I thought he would play. I thought maybe they would be really good and he would fall off and get hurt in like week 7. I didn't realize he was hurt before. And now with Ayuk going out for the season and Debo's been pretty dinged up, like And Kittle's getting older too. So I just there's a lot of problems on this. And Shanahan's a loser. You know what I mean? The guy, he is, I will say, Shanahan is Lamar Jackson, and hopefully Lamar proves us wrong this year. But Shanahan is a guy who will coach the hell out of a team until they get to a big game, and then it's like the guy's got a wet diaper the whole time. He's got no idea what he's doing.
No, I agree, and then I would have safely assume that you have the Pats at 32.
Absolutely.
They
They
hear what Carolina
stink.
hear what Carolina said today.
What did Carolina say?
They're going back to Bryce Young this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't have much to say because he's not good. But they're
I'm
still.
saying that I have New England at 32 too. They're going to stay at 32 for the rest of the season.
I am out of spite. They're at 32 because I do think Carolina is right there, neck and neck. One of these teams is the worst team. But I watch New England week to week. I don't watch Carolina week to week. I barely watch any Carolina. I know they stink, but I am so mad and disappointed. Like I'm like a father who's like, I'm not mad. I am disappointed, but I'm also mad too in the Patriots. This is the worst product I've ever seen. Like I said it once before. I don't know if I said it on a podcast or I said it in a text message. I've never seen in my years as a Patriots fan, as good as the Patriots were in their heyday, the best Patriots team we saw, if you correlate it to the worst team, this team is worse than any correlation to great teams that we've ever seen. Like this product is awful. Nothing has ever been this bad in my time watching.
So bad.
I mean, past that, I don't have much for the Patriots because I went on my tangent. Anything you want to say or air out, feel free.
I don't need to air anything out because you clarified everything just like way you said everything I needed to say. They need a complete overhaul of the front office. They need to find a legitimate head coach. They need to find a legitimate offensive coordinator, and they need to draft with those top draft picks this year. They need to draft legit players for that offensive line.
Yeah, they need to go all out in free agency, and they need to hit on draft picks. I mean, getting the number one overall pick, they should be trading back because they need to capitalize and they need to spend. They need to get more picks because they're a mess everywhere. They're bad top to bottom. There's not a player on the team less Drake May. I do actually like Drake May. Anybody who's on a rookie contract, I get. I mean, you're going to keep them and see how they pan out, but they need to draft better and they need to spend some money. That's the only way you're going to be good. There's a lot of bad teams in the NFL right now. You are so far worse than any of the other bad teams, and I'm sticking to that.
Agreed.
One other interesting note before we jump into the meat and potatoes of this show, the Celtics, obviously. Did you see the Browns came out and they said they're going to start Jameis Winston? They're not going with Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Robinson actually did something to his thumb.
Oh, did he? Is it okay? I didn't realize you was hurt. I got the update on my phone.
And they picked up Bailey Zappi off the Chiefs practice squad.
Oh, okay. So I did not know that. All right. So Zappy fever. Okay. In Cleveland.
Now, so Jameis Winston is starting this weekend.
Yeah.
The better of the ones to go. I do believe, and I'm going to say this, no matter how much of a bad human being Deshaun Watson was, he did not deserve to get "you deserve this" boo throughout the entire stadium. Like, I'm sorry. If you were winning games and you got hurt like that after what you did, like you said, Big Ben is a guy, or Steve said it, one of you guys
Yeah,
said
Stevie. Yeah, Stevie.
If he was winning games, it would have been a completely different situation. If he had showed that he was going to be a quarterback, that was awful. I don't agree with what he did in life, but I'm sorry. You don't do that to somebody. You deserve this. That guy popped his Achilles in the middle of a game and then had to get carted off, not crying from injury, but crying because the stadium's booing and saying, "You deserve this."
Yeah, I think those fans are as phony as they come. I think you're right in terms of if they were winning football games, they would be cheering them. You only his what he's done in his personal life is awful. He's not a good human being. He's a guy who's taken advantage of his position in life and used it for bad. That being said, if they were winning football games, you'd be hearing from the Browns fans, "Oh, this sucks. We were finally good, and now he's hurt." They're all phonies. The dog pound. Give me a break. You didn't care when they traded for him, because we can go back and look at the receipts when they traded for him and they signed him to that big deal. Nobody in Cleveland was unhappy. Maybe the women, but most of the fans thought in his first year there, he's suspended for 11 games, and they were all happy that they got him because they thought they were getting Houston Deshaun Watson. So I think they're a big phony bunch for doing that, because you saw it in Pittsburgh for years. Steve said it perfectly. Ben Roethlisberger had multiple incidents, and the people in Pittsburgh love Ben Roethlisberger to this day.
Agreed.
And that goes across the NFL. That goes across all sports. If you are good at your craft, if you're good at your sport, people will look the other way. It's been happening forever.
Nope, that's completely true.
But let's move on to a happier side of the Boston boys sports, because you've seen me melt down. You've heard my foul mouth in this one. But we can talk about the Celtics. So Woosa, Bad Boys 2. Let's get in this. The Boston Celtics. How did you feel? Let's go right back to last week, and I'll play the quote for you. I believe you said they're going to smash the Knicks, and I said smash, and then you took your foot off the gas, and I want you to put your foot right back on the gas because I was wrong. You had initially thought 30-point victory, and when I gave you that look, you were like, all right, maybe 10-15. It was 23. You were closer with 30, and it would have been 30 if they didn't pull all the starters and start heaving up threes to try to get that.
They went 0-13 in their last 13 shots trying to hit that 3-point record.
And I was on bated breath watching the whole thing. My wife, who doesn't give a shit about sports at all, was sitting next to me, and she's like, "What's going on in this game? Like, it's not close at all." I'm like, they are trying for this record, and then she's into it. Everyone that goes up, she's like, "Oh." It was a cool moment. I wish they got it. They didn't get it. I wish they got it as a fan. You know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things, the win is what you wanted.
So I predicted that. Yes, I knew they were coming to play. I know they're out for blood. I know that Jason Tatum looked. I think you guys said top 5 in the NBA. In my eyes last night, you got to wait for all the other games, obviously, but he looked like top 3 in the NBA last night. He had 10 assists. He went, let me pull it out. He had 4 rebounds, 10 assists. He went 4 for 18 from field goal. He had 8 of 11 from 3. He had 1 steal, 37 points. That guy came to play last night. Brown also came to play. White went 6 from 10 from 3. Holiday had 18. All around, they played great. They shot 47.5% from 3 last night. Now, if they didn't heave that 13 shots, they probably would have been over 50% from 3 last night.
Easy. I hate to break it to all the fans out there who are NBA fans. This is what it's going to be like. They're not going to shoot 50% from 3 every night, but they're going to. This is the identity of this team. And last year, they shot more threes last year than those Golden State teams. This is what they do. At one point, Shaq, I think it was Shaq, or it was somebody, it was Shaq or Charles Barkley. I forget who it was who said it on the halftime show. They're showing the Boston offense, and they're like, there's not one person in the paint. They are just all around the arc, and they're moving the ball well. They're finding the open shooter. This team's stacked, and remember, they don't have Christmas Porzingis, right, Stevie? They don't even have him yet. This team is just loaded, and they're not going anywhere. And they have my new favorite coach is Joe Mazzulla. This guy is a trip. The way he deals with the media. Did you see the interview? They asked him about pressure and expectations, and he says, 0. We're all going to be dead soon. You either win or you lose. It was something like that. Like, the guy is just like, I love how he deals with it, and it's just he treats basketball. It's a manner of privilege that they get to play this game in front of fans, and I love that he doesn't take it too serious. When an interviewer asked him, says Jason Tatum has to deal with this, he says gets to. He gets to. The guy, it feels like he's just in tune. He's like a 36-year-old guy. He's younger than me, and it's like he just gets it. We're playing a game for a living, and I feel like he takes that attitude to those guys, and that's why they play so carefree and loose. And you're right. When you say Jason Tatum, 8 for 11, he's always been an okay shooter. I think he tweaked his shot a bit because it looks fixed. Like he looked so good last night.
He looked phenomenal, and I don't think I'm in the realm of saying that he really might win MVP this year. If they win 65 games or more and Tatum averages 30, he's winning MVP over Luka.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna play like this all year, this is their identity. They're gonna shoot a ton, and like I said, they're not always gonna shoot 50%. They're gonna have nights where they're cold. I just can't foresee a situation where everyone's cold on the team. Like last night was a night where everyone was hot. I love that Josh Hart interview at the end of the game too. Like you need to drug test them. You know what I mean? Just laughing about it because what can you do when a team shoots like that? The Knicks weren't completely awful. They put up 109. I mean, that's good in an NBA game, but you ran into a buzzsaw. This team just came off a title. They're showing no signs of slowing down. This team is going to do this to people all year. Like, could they win 70 games if they're healthy? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
This is one of the better teams that I've seen. And another thing I wanted to bring up too, for the new look Knicks, right? Is Cat overrated?
I think they shouldn't even have traded for him.
I agree. Here's the numbers, right? Cat, 12 points, 7 boards, 3 assists. He went 4 from 9 from the field. Julius Randle, 16 points, 9 boards, 4 assists, 5 for 10 from the field.
I don't think that was a smart trade. I don't know why they would have traded DiVincenzo and Randle for him. I don't know what the logic was with the Timberwolves either. I think the Timberwolves upgraded their team even though they lost last night.
Yeah.
But it was not a smart idea knowing that team had so much chemistry going into the playoffs last year. And then you go and get this guy who essentially didn't help you win your first game of the season.
Yeah. I didn't think Cat looked good. I just, nothing about I don't think the New York Knicks were bad, but I think they built this team with they're like baby Villanova. They all like each other. They're all friends. We're going to group them up together. And this was a big matchup for them to come out against the reigning champions, top dogs in the league, and say, we're here. And like the Celtics are the bar right now in the NBA. The Knicks, they don't belong on the same court as them. And I know that's overreacting after one game. So let's overreact. Why don't we? Are they going 82-0? No, every team loses. Could they go 70-12? Yeah, I can see a situation. They're not, like I said, they're not all going to be cold on the same night. They may never all be hot again on the same night, but you're not going to get all 5 starters cold on the same night. And then Hauser. And Hauser and Pritchard weren't good last night. It's not like they wowed you.
No, and you know who did look good for an old man is Horford looked good.
Yeah, and this is Al at the beginning of the season with the most rest. He's going to be your guy who probably needs the most recovery time when it starts getting like deep into the season. But if they're healthy, who do you like in the East to be better than them? Like the Bucks, I don't think Giannis and Dame are good enough to beat the Celtics. The Philly, they're not going to be healthy. They never are. Embiid's not a winner. He's never done it. The Celtics finally got theirs. They got over that mental hurdle that we haven't won. Now they've won. You got Paul George and Embiid are both out right now, and they're both guys who have been hurt and need load management. Do you fear the Heat at this point?
I don't fear anybody. That's the crazy part about me right now. I don't fear anybody in the West, and I don't fear anybody in the East. And I can say that I don't care after one game. I have to watch fucking New England every week. So let me get some good product in my life. I was hoping for what they did last night, and it happened. Pats on the back to me. But I do not fear any team in the NBA right now.
But I don't think you're wrong in that. Like, who is the best team besides the Celtics? Who's your next team, East or West?
Oh, my next best team wouldn't be in the East. It's hard to see because I didn't see anybody. I didn't. The Lakers aren't the next best team. You only saw another game last night. Timberwolves should have beat the Lakers and they didn't. Um, I still would probably go Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic in it with the Mavericks, but you need to see them shoot three balls. If they don't shoot the three, they're not going to compete with the Celtics anyway.
So my number two behind Boston would still be Denver. I think they have the most complete roster, minus the Celtics, and I just don't think like Joker is great, but I think you can easily deal with Michael Porter Jr. I think you can easily deal with Aaron Gordon. I think you can easily deal with Jamal Murray. Like, I don't think that those guys. Jokic is better than Al Horford. Can Jokic beat the Celtics? No. You have Drew Holiday, who's all-time defender, not all time, but he's one of the better defending guards in the league. You have Derek White, who's one of the better defending guards in the league. You have Jaylen Brown, who's one of the better defenders in the league. He's super athletic. We saw it last year in the finals, what he could do. Jason Tatum plays good defense. And then all these guys can shoot the lights out too.
No, agreed. And you know what's crazy is last night when Jaylen Brown missed that layup and he grabbed his board again, shot it again, grabbed it again, and then missed the third one, and you heard him yell, "Damn!" They out-rebounded them last night on the offensive side of the ball. They are there to play defense. They are there to get what they need for rebounds. They had 6 steals last night. Every starter on the Celtics had a steal last night. Every one of them.
I mean, that's just damn impressive.
Horford had a fucking steal. They just the whole starting lineup had a steal. So you see that their defense is probably the best in the league. We already know that they are. Their offense is going to be the best in the league. You might see that offense break records this season.
Yeah, and again, I don't think you're wrong. Like, it's the overreaction and it's one game, but there's nobody in the NBA I look at and I think, oh man, that's a team to watch out for come playoff time. If this team's healthy, they're too good all around. Like, and I just think them winning a title really just, you don't have to play that mental game of we haven't gotten over the hump, because you had to do that for years. You know what I mean? You lost to Miami, you got over the hump, and then you lost to Golden State, and then you lost to Miami again. So if doubt was ever going to creep in, it would have been last year. And guess what? They handled everybody last year in the playoffs. Now they've won. This is a team. And then after they won, Steve Kerr basically said, Jason Tatum, you're not good enough to be an Olympian. We're not going to play you. Jaylen Brown, we don't really want you on this team. We're going to take your teammate over you. That was a mental game to try to break these guys up. And it's unbelievable. Did you see the Jaylen text to Jason Tatum?
No.
Regarding the Olympics? Something, I'll bring it up right now while we're talking, but in any event, it's like all you did was give these guys motivation right after they won a title.
Oh, and I said that last week. I said, these guys are out for blood. They're telling you, oh, no, it doesn't bother us that bad, this and that. They're coming to prove to the league that we are going to be the best team in the league for the next 4 years. And I'll say this, and this is way overreaction. If they repeat this year, they still have everybody signed for that third year coming up. Yeah. I could see them three-peating like the Lakers did or the Bulls did.
I agree with you. And just to go back to that text message. So after the benching and Tatum received, the disrespect and whatnot, they said Brown texted Tatum and wrote, "I'm mad for you." And this just shows you the unity, because there was a lot of thought at points that maybe you got to break these guys up and there's dissension and Brown wants to be a number one. I don't see that. I see a team that is completely together.
No, I do. And I think that they want to stay together. That's the best part about it. They're not being, I want to move to this team, move that. They got their super maxes, leave them on the team. They want to play together. They want to prove to the NBA that they're the best.
I definitely agree with you there. And I just think that you're 100% just going to continue to see this team dominate. And just quickly going over the schedule, too. I mean, you tell me when their first loss is coming because after New York, you got Washington, Detroit, Milwaukee, Indiana, Charlotte, Atlanta, Golden State, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Brooklyn, Toronto. That takes you to mid-November.
I don't think they lose. I think that they can win 20 straight games.
I mean, honestly, the only teams you see in there, right? Milwaukee's a good team. You know that. Maybe Milwaukee beats you, but it's at home, so you have the edge there. I don't think as good as I think Indiana is, and they're losing right now to Detroit of all teams. I know they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think they're that good. Golden State, I think, regresses this year. You got at Milwaukee, but I mean, we're talking about a lot of bad basketball teams, and even past that, going up, you have Minnesota on November 24th. You have the Clippers on the 25th. So you got back-to-back, but those back-to-back home games. I mean, I look across the league and I'm like, where do they lose? I mean, obviously they're not going 82-0, but night to night, it's like, I don't see where they lose.
No. And night to night, I don't see where they lose. I don't think they win 82 games. I don't think anybody can.
No.
And if they did, that would be absolutely insane, but I'm not saying they are. I say 65 wins or more. I don't see them. I could even say, like you said, 72. I could see 70 wins with this team, and I could see them killing everybody like they did last night. Like I said, you don't need all five starters. Like you said, you don't need all five starters to go off every night like that. But if you can get 3 out of 5 and then your bench plays good, they're one of the hardest teams to beat in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right on that. This is a team built for success.
Agreed.
Long-term success too.
Long term, like I said, if they repeat this year, they're winning 3 in a row.
Couldn't agree more with you. And I think that's a perfect time to kind of wrap this show up. The Patriots stink, but we have the Celtics, and actually the Bruins are pretty good too. So we'll have something to watch there.
Did you hear about the Bruins last night in the game when they got shut out by the worst team in hockey?
No.
So they got shut out in the worst team in hockey. Jim Montgomery started yelling at Marchand and pushed him on the bench.
Oh, okay. I did see something about this.
So he pushed him on the bench. Howard, and this is what I was talking about, the whole captain thing earlier. How do you make a captain and do that to him in front of the team, in front of an audience on the bench?
Yeah.
People were saying that Montgomery's probably going to end up getting fired soon.
Yeah, they're a good team, and you'll be able to watch them, though they're like very early on in the season. I think they're 3-1. So this is a team. I'm trying to look it up right now. They are 3-1, 7 points. But I was trying to look up the Jim Montgomery, Brad Marchand, see if there's any resolution. One day ago, insider hints, Bruins internal problems after Brad Marchand's altercation. There's definitely something there. 5 hours ago, Felger said Jim Montgomery almost done as a Bruins head coach. I guess maybe you could see it. He's had 2 pretty big failures, I would say. And this is probably, like you said, if you're pushing your captain, I mean, where people are seeing this and the team seeing this, might be time for an interim head coach.
Don't disagree. Just had to mention that real quick because I thought that was crazy. I heard that today.
It's not a bad thing to end on right now. And outside of that, as always, Kiefer, why don't we give you the last word here? What do you got for us?
Go Celtics, baby. Next game, they're going to win by 20.
I'm with you, man. And let me tell you something. We finally have a sport to watch right now and watch regularly because the Red Sox disappointed us. The Patriots are the worst franchise in sports right now. All of the sports combined, including the XFL merger with the UFL or whatever they were as well. Patriots are a joke. Celtics, baby. Let's rip off 10 in a row to start the season, 20 in a row to start the season. This team is so good. They actually can do it. Jason Tatum for MVP. I'm with you at this point. I am on the bandwagon.
That's my guy right there.
Atta boy. All right. And that's going to do it for us at the Boston Boys Sports podcast. Of course, we are partnered with Jones and for Sports. We make sports better. Check them out, X. Check them out on Instagram. Check them out on YouTube. Also, check us out. If you're watching it, make sure you pound that like button, subscribe, send us to all your friends, and comment, and we will get to all your comments. Stevie is so active on X at Hub Boys Sports, and he's active here. And then we'll shout you out on the podcast as well. Kiefer, Beard, my guy, it was always a pleasure with you. Great show.
Always, and can't wait till next week.
Take it easy, buddy.
You too.